Aloha and welcome. We're going to do a short little lesson here, and that's going to be covering the with statement. And when I'm talking about the with statement, I'm talking about with relation to files specifically. We're going to talk about how this creates something called a context manager. And a context manager is something that's going to be handling the tear down, the construction and tear down of something. So without any further ado, let me pull up our VS Code editor. And we're going to be opening up a file. I'll just have it open up the file over here. And we're going to use with. So the way you use with is with, hold on, let me go ahead with open. And we're going to give it a file name. And the file name is going to be, actually, I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to run this, which is going to give me an error, and that's fine because I'm just wanting to grab this right here. So with the name of the file and names.txt. So we're going to do this, and then we're going to name it as my file, we'll call it. So what's happening here is we're saying with open this whole thing as my file. We're saying open it up and give it a name as my file here. And then we're going to do everything in a block. And everything that we do in this block here, as soon as we leave this block, the context manager that we've set up here is going to say, hey, okay, we've been reading from this thing, we've been using this file, but after we leave that block and we go back to the global context, it's going to basically do all the garbage handling. It's going to close this thing. And that's very useful if you're opening up a file for writing, because as I mentioned before, when you're dealing with files, you need to open and close them, particularly with writing files, because if you don't close it, it's going to be, you're going to run into the problem that you can't open it with other files because it's going to say the file is locked for writing. So you're going to have problems with that. So the good thing about using a context manager is because when you leave the context of, when you leave this block of code, as soon as you leave the block of code, it's going to tear down that connection. So it's going to automatically close it for you. And that's really helpful. So if we were to go in here and say, let's say for line in my file, print line, something like that. Let's see. Boom, it's going to give us an error because I've made a mistake and it's saying no such name. And that's correct because it's desktop ITS 128. And that's why it shouldn't be, yeah. So yeah, I just messed up the file name there. But since we've got the file name correct now, what's happening here is it's opening up that file, it's naming it my file, it's creating this context manager for us. Then we're running all of our stuff in here. I haven't closed it at the end, but once I leave the block here, it's going to tear down that file. It's going to close it automatically for me. And here it's nice, but the real power is like when you're opening it for writing and you've written some stuff, you don't have to do the manual closing of the file here. That's handled for you. So this is what we call, well, it's the with statement, but it's the concept of using a context manager. And there are context managers for other types of things, and you can create those manually, but it's beyond the scope of what we're doing here in this lesson. So yeah, this is really a clean way of using files in general. This is the way I prefer to do it instead of just doing the, like say, file equals open, blah, blah, blah. I just like doing it this way because it's nice, clean, and sets up that context manager that's going to do all the automatic garbage collection at the end of it. So go ahead, give that a try. If you run into any problems, send me an email, set up a one-on-one Zoom, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Aloha.